It's late August, 1918. The Great War, as it was known, has been raging for over 4 years. The world has been engulfed in a conflict of unprecedented scale and ferocity. On the Western Front, the Allies have launched a series of offensives that would later be known as the 100 Days Offensive. This series of attacks, beginning with the Battle of Amiens on August 8th, marked the beginning of the end for the Central Powers. By late August, the Allies had made significant gains, pushing the German forces back and capturing vital territories. The atmosphere among the troops was a mix of exhaustion and cautious optimism. For many soldiers, the war had taken a heavy toll, both physically and mentally. The letters they wrote home reflected a range of emotions: hope, despair, love, and longing. In today's video, we're going to dive into a more personal side of the war, one that you don't hear or see about often. We're going to cover the writing of someone who's actually lived through it. I'll be sharing 2 letters written by an American soldier who was serving in the trenches of France. The soldier's name was Glenn Filbert Borg. Glenn was born to Martin and Ida Borg on May 1st, 1896 in Minnesota. On February 25th, 1918, age 21, Glenn would enlist into the armed forces and would go on to serve with Company D, 139th Infantry Regiment, 135th Infantry Division, also known as the Santa Fe Division. The 139th Regiment would leave the United States and arrive in England on May 7, 1918, where they would begin training for combat in France. Shortly after, the division would move into the field. Glenn would soon find himself in the infamous trenches of France, which is where Glenn would write this first letter. It reads,
"Somewhere in France, August the 20th of 1918. Dear brother, I shall now pen a few lines to you as I believe it is your turn to get to hear from me. I can hardly remember whenever your turn comes, but you will have to excuse me for delaying in answering you. I was thinking just now tonight that at about Xmas time, my testing license will run out. I will no doubt get a blank to renew the license, so will you please save the blank so that I can renew it later if I want to. I have been talking with a guy that is in my company that has worked for N.I. Hugger at Danube. I guess he was the one that beat me to the job at the time that Hugger advertised in the Dairy Record for a helper. He only worked for Hugger a month, and then he quit him. He told of what kind of a condition that the creamery was in, just like it was in Parker's at the time he was there. Well, at last I'm in the trenches, and find life a little exciting at times. What seems to be our worst enemies are the trench rats and cooties, or lice. Some of them are old enough to have a dozen or more service stripes. So we are busy at times picking over our shirts. I have not been bothered yet, but it's probably not long before I have to do the same. Well, my news box is small, so I will come to a close for this time. I am well and hope you are the same. Greetings to you all, and may the Lord protect you. Your brother, Private Glenn F. Borg, Company D, 139th U.S. Infantry."
The second letter, written 10 days later, reads,
"Somewhere in France, August the 30th, 1918. Dear folks, peace in Jesus. I will again drop you a few lines and at least let you know that I am well and safe yet. You will of course worry more about my safety now, being that I am in the trenches, but I can say that I am just as safe here as I am any other place. Life in the trenches has its advantages and disadvantages, as well as in the civilian life. I find it dreadful at times, but still it is like any other work. I get accustomed to it. While heavy shelling goes on, we all feel a little shaky, and all admit it too. I remember my first time that I felt shaky. I think I will remember it as long as I live. I wish I could write what I really wanted to, and tell you more about trench life and more of my experiences in the trenches so far. But it is for our own good that I am not allowed. One thing that I have noticed each time, after some excitement, I can see the difference in the boys after each time. It certainly makes us think of the seriousness of it all. And many have not realized the serious side of this war. But our wish and hope are that it will come to an end soon. Some of the boys here are nice and fine to talk to about life. One fellow told me an interesting story about his life and his folks. A very fine fellow too. And he is very cool and has put his confidences in the Almighty and hopes that he will guide him through it all. So you see, I have a friend to talk to when I find time. Well, I will save some news for next time, so may the Lord help you dear folks back and comfort you. Hoping you are well as I am and praying for you all, I am your son and brother, Private Glenn F. Borg, Company D, 139th U.S. Infantry.
You can tell by his words that he had seen and experienced a lot within the short time that he was in France. But Glenn's wishes and hopes would soon come true when the war would end 3 months later on November 11th, 1918. He would now finally be able to return home to his family. On August 26th, 1928, Glenn would marry his sweetheart, Esther. They would live out the rest of their lives together. On June 14th, 1964, Glenn would pass away at the age of 68. A few decades later, on September 15th, 1987, his wife Esther would pass away at the age of 83. They are both buried together in the Our Savior's Lutheran Cemetery in Dalton, Minnesota. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really like letters like this. It shows a more personal side to the war that you don't really typically see, in movies and TV. And I have a lot of these letters. I have over, I think, 120 last time I counted. So a lot of content. Most of them have really cool, interesting, content related to the war and their emotions, and just overall really important to preserve and to save. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to comment if you have any feedback. I'd love to hear it. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And thank you for watching.